Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to Rangers Miniature and Gaming. So when I started this channel, I had a goal of making one video a week. It is the weekend. I realize I have no planned content for next week. So I'm just going to do a little hobby and chat, hobby and update video here, telling about what I've been working on. Had some hobby time this evening, been working on a few of my ongoing projects, which I've discussed in previous videos. So we'll just dive right on into it. Get these guys out here. So literally 10 minutes ago, I just finished basing the remaining part of my Pioneer squad for bolt action chain of command. So I had a, this is part of my ultra mega blitzkrieg German army for 40-41 period. So France and Barbarossa. I plan on having it, I mentioned this in another video, but I plan on having it be a full company of infantry / panzer grenadiers, Schützen, whatever you want to use there, depending on the year and the term. A couple platoons of tanks, a platoon / section of scout cars, and then supporting, a platoon of a weapons platoon from a heavy weapons company from the 14th company of a German infantry battalion. So that's going to be probably 4 medium machine guns, MG-34s on the tripods, 2 8cm mortars, Pak 36, Flak 36, Stug, 105 howitzer, maybe even an infantry support gun, SIG 33 or the 75mm light gun. But anyways, this is the 12-man Pioneer squad. I've been using these. I also can use them for mid. I even used them in a late war game I did the other day. I have them with the stone gray. Some of them, half of them have full gray trousers, tunic. Some of them have the stone gray, lighter gray trousers with the filled gray tunic that was characteristic. See how well that shows up there. Early war. This is the light machine gun team. I got it based on the 60mm round base that comes with all the bolt action stuff there, just the really cheap ones. I like to have my assistant gunners with the gunners. That's how I'm going to do everything from now on. I got that from TableTop CP. Great channel. If you're into bolt action at all, go subscribe to his channel. He does bolt action, chain of command. He does some other games too, but he is goals. So he's what I strive to be in the gaming community. So I got these guys base stuff, just some tufts, a little bit of rockage there. Yep. Turned out nicely, I think. Next guy I got is this guy here. I'll get my little toothpick here to get everything to focus here. And light, of course. Light. Can't do this without light, right? But yeah, so this guy, he has the assault grenade bags there. He has like a homemade helmet cover. It's like burlap or something. I don't know. I painted it like a Zelt band in the Splinter camo. But it wouldn't, the period isn't correct, and it's also not the correct pattern. It doesn't have the camouflage loops, so it was either homespun. It wasn't uncommon for people to make custom clothing out of Zelt bonds. And it could also have been burlap, but I chose to paint it as a Splinter pattern. He's in the full gray setup, gray trousers, the filled gray trousers and tunic, and then I did give him the bottle green early war M36 tunic, but we'll see how he shows up there. Come on, focus camera, there we go. Yeah, and what's cool is he also has some neat little wire cutters tucked into his belt there. Yep. So, and some of you more astute historians out there, you know, I have a history degree and I've been nerding out over military history my entire life, essentially. Huge reason why I did what I did in the military. I left his shoulder boards the infantry white. They should be black for Pioneers. I left them white so that way if I wanted to use him with other forces, I could. The rest of the Pioneers, for the most part, have the black shoulder boards, as they should. This guy right here, more or less the same. He has the nice little, come on, focus, baby. Come on, you can do it, camera. And there it goes, it focused now. He has the Assault Pioneer kit there. Glued a rifle next to him. You know, he's on his back, cutting some wire, doing a breach there. He has the same little burlap deal. These guys are both metal. These came from the metal. So these all came from the Pioneer, the early mid-war Warlord Pioneer box. It comes with plastic and metal miniatures, 30 in total. These guys all came from that. And then I got the squad leader right here. I painted him. We'll see how the lighting is going to cooperate. Come on. Ooh, focus. It's telling me where it wants to focus here. See if we can block it out there. There we go. Alright, so I painted, as you can see, his collar insignia. He has the Rock Sodler on there, and then he has the stone gray trousers. I also gave him white shoulder boards because I might want to use them as a squad leader for my Blitzkrieg force. If not, he's the squad leader for my Pioneer force. So I finished these guys. That's it. All 12 guys are done and based. I just got to put the varnish on these guys to protect them. So that's 12 man squad for early mid-war Germans. I already have like the Goliath, the flamethrower, the assistant flamethrower guy, all that stuff. They're all painted, based, and varnished already. I've already actually played a couple games with them. So that is that. That is those guys. The project continues a bleat slowly on the Blitzkrieg army. Then I got this. Not the miniatures, but specifically the movement trays. These are skirmish movement trays I got from Litco. They're super cheap. They're like $3-4 a pop, depending on the size you get. I got about 5 of them here. I decided that I was going to individually base all of my skirmish troops. So that way I could use them for skirmish games, but I also needed a way if I was going to have large units for games like Sword Point and Hail Caesar, or Kings of War Historical. My buddy Holy Diver, he plays a lot of that. So I wanted to have it very versatile. I'm not really big, I don't think I'm going to like to play skirmish ancient medieval games, but if I do get the itch or I do end up liking it, I wanted to have the flexibility. So I based them all individually on plastic 25mm bases. I didn't use round bases because I literally have a metric shit ton of square bases, plastic square bases. So I needed to find skirmish movement trays in case I wanted to have large units or move around easy if I had multiple units. And these are just MDF movement trays. This one's a 9 count right here, and they came with bases. So I now have even more 25mm square bases. I probably will not need 25mm square bases until the day I die. That one was a 9 count. This is a 6 count. Bases are still in it. But same thing there, MDF. Nice 4 or 5mm thick. I'm going to go ahead and base them up just like I did my Ancient Republican army that I've showcased here before, that I've been currently working on, that I'm about more or less 60-70% done with. So these are pretty nifty for, you know, 12 to 15 bucks for 5 of them. Can't really complain. Here's a 12 count, but in ranks of 4. And then I also got another 12 count in 2 ranks of 6. And then last but not certainly least, 15 count for when I got a super big skirmish unit. Because the scope and the size of this Republican Roman army, and because I'm literally wanting to use it from the time of Claudine Forks up until the Third Punic War, the Macedonian Wars, up till the time really of Marius, I have a lot of skirmishers. These guys that you see are levies, but I also have just normal Akinci javelin men. I have Balearic slingers. So I got a decent amount of light troops. I think I have 40 light troops in total for that army, which I feel like is a decent number and it'll give me a lot of flexibility. Go ahead and put these guys back. So I got those in a few days ago. So I should be all good, and when I get off this video, I'm probably gonna start to base these up. What's nice about them is that they're all off-centered. I should go without saying, but in case of any of you people who are slightly IQ challenged out there, they're all off-centered. They're cut in a way that off-center the bases, so that way the weapons don't interfere with each other. So you don't have to worry about poking dudes with javelins, and they still rank up decently. And you can still tell they are skirmished formation troops. They're not in perfectly straight ranks and files. They are skirmishers. It is unmistakable. And like I said, if I don't want to use them, if I want to have them even more loosely based, then I can just do this. Or if I want to play a skirmish game that doesn't require large number of models, I can use them as individuals as well. So I feel like that is the best solution. Kind of my buddy Holy Diver, since I just now am getting into ancients and medievals, he kind of gave me the lowdown on how I need to be thinking about basing and setting up my armies. So big shout out to him. If you're not subscribed to the Holy Diver, he's a great US gaming channel. Go subscribe to him, but I should warn you, he is not for the weak or faint-hearted. If you're politically correct or soy boy or something like that, you're not going to enjoy his content. He cusses and tells it how it is, and you can take it or leave it. He doesn't give a shit, and I personally can respect that. So I kind of regret how I based these guys. These are my slingers, and I've showed these guys off before, but I based them in like a skirmish formation on a 50 by 100 MDF base. Just 4 to a base. I wish I would have done what I did with the other guys. So I'm not going to rebase them. They're glued on, they're based, they're varnished. Not messing with them. But going forward, all my other projects I do with skirmishers for my medieval and ancient battles, they're going to be like that. So I mentioned in a previous video that terrain is going to become a big focus of mine. I have, now that I actually have a small tight-knit group of people to game with, that Holy Diver has essentially networked to get together. I want to focus on terrain. I wasn't really focused on terrain before because I didn't get to play that many games. I'd play like maybe a game every other month, and it would be at the local store. And then that was that. I would use their terrain that they had available for people to use for free, borrowed terrain for free, and I didn't really care. But now that we're getting into the weeds and the nitty gritty and getting some really cool shit going over at his place, I wanted to focus on terrain, starting with my bolt action terrain. And a lot of this stuff has crossover too. So I got 2 sets of these stone walls from Pegasus Hobbies. Pre-painted, 28mm terrain. I already opened one up, took a look at it. Here it is. One pack gets you 6 walls. They are pretty neat. So they're molded plastic, high quality, high durability. Paint job is, I think, for the price, great. I got these for $15 a pack. So for 30 bucks, I got 12 walls, should be all I need. These are going to be great for everything. They're stone walls. I can use these for ancient, medieval, English Civil War, World War II, you name it. I mean, I've been all over Europe, France, Italy, Germany. Any rural part of Europe still has stone walls like these. I mean, heck, even here in the States, there are still stone, we're not nearly as old as Europe, and we still have stone walls like these all over the place. So these are going to be great for that kind of thing here. Really excited for that. Trying to step up. I mentioned TableTop CP earlier in the video. Really trying to step up my quality to his level. He has a lot of terrain. Bolt Action is one of those games that is centered on terrain. You gotta have terrain. If you're playing on an empty table, the game's gonna be boring and it's not gonna last very long. because there's no cover, there's no modifiers to your rolls if you don't have heavy or light cover. You know, if you're not slowing down the movements of your opponents or yourself, it's a whole different game when you got terrain added in there. So I'm really trying to step up my terrain game. Like I said, end goal, tabletop CP. I also got a set of wooden fences from Pegasus Hobbies. They are equally cool. 6 fences. I only got one set of these because that's all they had in stock. The retailer I bought them from, the eBay online retailer. But they are the same thing. Really durable plastic. This is not flocked. This is just paint, but it's 2 coats of paint. They do a dark base coat and a light dry brush on top of it. It's, for 98% of people out there, that is sufficient. But even if you got to stick up your ass and you got to be a perfectionist, you can go in and flock it yourself. I mean, there's nothing to it. I mean, you just add some glue, some flock, some static grass, whatever your thing is. Bam, you're done. So these are really cool. Looking forward to using those. The last thing I'll probably talk about here is went to the local gaming store. I live in Utah, and here well, I don't live in Salt Lake, Utah, but in Salt Lake County, there's a gaming store in Sandy, Gadjo Games. Great gaming store. They do everything there. I mean, you name it, they got it. Huge Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40k scene there, huge. In addition to that, they have a huge Flames of War Team Yankee scene there. If you love playing Team Yankee in Flames of War, they got a ton of it there. They got 3 floors. They got a basement where they do a lot of their group games, organized group games or tournament plays, and then they have an entire upstairs with like 12 or 15 gaming tables that's all just free open gaming that you can play with your friends or play with random people you meet at the store, I guess. I'm not really into that, but if you're into meeting random people or you absolutely cannot make or find friends or you don't have anybody, they do have that there. So, you know, great store. The owner is really nice, small business owner, and because of the situation we're in this country and in the world, I wanted to go and spend a little bit of money there to support him. I was out of some paints, so I just got a couple paints here, black, typical, you know, you go through it a lot, so I like using the Vallejo range mainly. I do have a bunch of Army Painter and a little bit of Citadel, but I primarily use Vallejo. So I had to get some black, just regular black, and then off-white ivory there, because I've been going through a ton of that painting these Romans. But also, in addition to the paints I also got everyone's gonna know what this is. Ooh, I can't even get it. Can I get it all in frame there? Yeah, maybe. Universal carrier. So, Warlord Bren carrier. Got one of those. I already had one for my army, but I wanted 2 because it only carries 5 troops, I believe. And, you know, it takes up a a transport slot. You can use it in the recce roll, or you can use it in the transport slot. For the price, I think it's a good unit for bolt action, and then obviously if you're doing British armored infantry, you kind of got to have them. Kind of a standard thing there. So I got another one of these. Holy Diver beware, these will be used in game to the max effect. So now I got 2 diddly doos. Prepare for no mercy. But other than that, there's been nothing much going on in the hobby world for me. Last week, I finished all the horses from my Republican Roman army. I kind of showed that project off and where it was at a couple weeks ago. It's moved forward since. I got all the horses painted, and now I have all of the riders primed and ready for paint. So this week I'm going to be painting the 14 riders. They should not be too hard. They should be just as easy to paint as light troops. not as hard as Triarii or Principes. So I could potentially even be done with them by Wednesday or Thursday. That is my goal. I guess I can show off a couple of them here. Oh, I did do a review video on these guys, but I did it on my cell phone. I didn't like how it turned out, so I decided I wasn't going to upload it. But these guys are completely done, ready for their riders. I have an Osprey book about the Samnites, or enemies of Rome, and it has Samnites in there. And these are the Gripping Beast medals. They're Italian ally cavalry. I think mainly for the Carthaginians is what they're supposed to be, but you know, they're essentially Oscan cavalry. So I decided to paint them up kind of as the Samnites. They're light spear cavalry. And I decided, because of that Osprey book I was mentioning, to do a red, white, and blue theme. And I just painted some patterns in there on the horse blanket there. Yep. And you can see there for the metal bits on the harness, I just used some bronze colored metallic paint. My first time painting horses. Quite happy the way they turned out. Yep, another little kind of geometric pattern there. And then some of them I just did with just a plain border, two-tone border there. So the Samnites were kind of, I think everybody thinks that these ancient armies were monochromatic and just one color, like, oh, everything was one color. But I think most people who are more historically adept will understand that these were citizen levy armies. At this point in time, no one in history, because this is really before the Macedonians and Philip of Macedon, there were no state-sponsored armies. You know, states had armies, but they were citizen levies. Citizens had to provide their own equipment. Because of that, you would not have a lot of uniformity in clothing. It would not be uncommon for people to show up wearing a vast array of equipment and clothing. So I painted these guys up a little bit more fancier since they're cavalry. They're obviously going to be more well-off people. But yeah, they're brightly colored in the red, white, and blues. And you know, I mean, there's been people write PhD dissertations on the dye trade in the ancient Mediterranean, right? On how like clothing dye or paint dyes were produced and traded throughout the Mediterranean. And we know there was colors. You know, everyone knows purple is the color of royalty because it was the hardest color to produce, from like a special sea urchin, you know, in certain parts of the Mediterranean. But like red is a very common color and an easy color to produce. So there's things like that. You know, that's why a lot of people think the Roman legionaries wore red. They didn't always wear red. They wore a lot of colors. Red and white were what they had access to and were cheaper. So especially in the imperial period, they probably wore a lot of red and white. But in the Republican period, especially when you start talking equites or cavalry and triarii, they're going to have a lot of colors. It's going to be whatever the soldier had on his back and brought from home, right? So if he was rich, he would have better clothing. So I incorporated a lot of that. I'm probably going to do that into the riders as well. So that's where I'm at with the hobby.